All right, welcome, kings and queens. I am back. Yes, I am back. And we are about to get down to business. Listen, I had a lot of requests come in behind the scenes regarding this Gail Lewis story that went viral on January 24th. I want to talk about it. Y'all, this story was so good and juicy. To be honest, I did not think about covering it until you all asked me behind the palace walls because I was so enthralled in the drama, in the mess, honey. I got lost as a viewer and I never thought, wait a minute, you can cover it. So I'm going to cover it. Let's talk about it. For those of you who are just tuned in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome to the palace. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television, but most importantly, I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience.
Subscribe now. Subscribe now.
Gail, if you listening, honey, you broke the internet. And for those of you that are not familiar with the story, I don't know why or how, because it's completely gone viral. But maybe you're just here because you enjoy my content, and if so, I appreciate that. Let me bring you all up to speed on what's going on. So, like 6 days ago, an Atlanta woman set social media on fire via TikTok because she shared a series of posts outlining her life and how her life completely fell apart right before her eyes in October of 2022 after she discovered that her husband was cheating on her. Okay? This went viral. Now, I think they were married for 26 years. He travels for a living. The wife's name is Gail. Let me back up. There's 3 players in the saga. There's 3 key players. There's Gail. Her name is not Gail Smith. Her name is Gail Lewis, but for some reason I want to call her Gail Smith. Her name is Gail. The husband's name is Harold Lewis, and the mistress's name is Sabrina Hutton. Okay? Sabrina is rumored to be close friends, if not best friends, with Claudia Jordan. Y'all, I'm just sitting back taking it all in. I'm like, this is messy. But at the same time, it's very sad. It's extremely unfortunate that women easily and willfully do such foul things to each other. So those are the main 3 key players. I'm going to cover them one by one, but not necessarily all today. When I say I'm going to cover them one by one, I'm going to break up my review and my recap and give you my thoughts in 3 different segments. So this is episode number 1. Today, I'm focusing on Gail and her story, but I'm going to come at it with a little bit of the twist. Because we know so Gail shared with the internet that she discovered that her husband of 26 years was having a marital affair. That's Harold. Harold is a prestigious businessman. I don't really know what he does yet, but whatever he does, it causes him to travel quite often. And that's how he was able to fly below the radar without her catching on immediately regarding the inconsistencies in his behavior. Y'all, this is so sad. So sad. But I had to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, so Gail finds out that her husband is cheating on her. And the way she found out is because she called the airline. Now, the only reason why a woman would call an airline is if you didn't communicate with me as my husband when you were supposed to get on the plane and I haven't heard from you in a while. So I need to know what time you're landing. That's what I'm thinking. That prompted her to call the airline. Maybe Harold missed his check-in. Some hours had gone by and she's like, you know what? He didn't really tell me what time he lands, so let me call the airline. She calls the airline. And the reason why she called the airline, millennials and Gen Zs, is because she was driving in her car. She did not have, yes, she did. She had the flight number, but maybe not the confirmation number, something like that. So I just want to let y'all know, you savvy tech users, not everybody will hop on an app and type everything in. And not only that, not everybody texts and drive at the same time. So she connects with the agent that's on the phone, the customer service agent, who insists on her giving the passenger's name before he would release the information of what time the flight touches down in Atlanta. And he was traveling international. So finally, after going back and forth, She gives the customer service rep over the phone the information that he's asking for, which is her husband's first and last name. Catch this. The man says, "Oh, you mean Mr. Harold Lewis and Sabrina Hutton? Oh, they gonna be landing at 3. Oh, actually, honey, I'm sorry. They already landed." And she's like, "No, I don't know Miss Sabrina Hutton. I just need to know Harold Lewis. That's my husband. I don't know about this person. That's not, I don't need her information." And the man must have said, "You may not need her information, honey, and whether you want to know it or not, but they're traveling together and they're a party of two." So she gets off the phone. She's really confused. Her husband calls her because she was going to plan dinner and cook dinner, right? That's why she's trying to get all of this information so she could have everything ready to go like a good wife does. That's what y'all say y'all want. A good wife, right, man? Okay. So she's wanting to get dinner together like a good wife does, and she's hit upside her head. Boom! With a whammy. Not only did your husband not communicate with you that he was traveling with a woman out of the country, girl, he didn't even tell you he had already landed. So he didn't even call her when he landed or anything. A few minutes later, after she gets off the phone with the customer service agent, her husband calls her. She's shaking. She holds it to herself. She sits on it. She waits. Okay. I'm going to get into all of that later. I'm going to work this thing from the reverse as opposed in sequential order. I'm going to work it from the back to the front. I want to give you a little bit of information about Gail first in reverse order. Now, I was completely blown away. I'm still completely blown away for how all of this played out. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on a man or a woman. When it comes to heartache and matters of the heart, that's not something you play with. People get hurt like that. People get hurt like that. You know what I'm saying? If marriage is not for you, don't do it. Don't do it. But my grandma used to always say, you get them how you lose them how you get them. And if he come in through the back door, you're going to lose him through the back door. And the streets have been talking, honey. And come to find out, Gail got Harold through the back door. Are y'all following me? Yep, that's right. You heard me, baby. Listen. Karma has spun the block, and this is not a laughing matter, Gail. Let me be very clear with you. I'm not celebrating anything because, like I said, this is very sad. But y'all, my grandmother used to always say, "Can't no right come from doing wrong." And I want to break down the history of how Gail met Harold. Can we do that? We need to do that first, and then we'll get into the juice and the meat and potatoes in episode number 2 of what went down between Gail, Harold, and the mistress. Okay. Now, when this story first came out, no one knew the historical context of Gail and Harold and how they started this rendezvous way back in the day. Now, according to Gail, they met over 30 years ago, so I'm guessing there was dating on and off between 3 to 4 years before they got married because they've been married 25 plus years. 25 then, maybe 26, give or take. What Gail forgot to mention, or maybe what Gail didn't realize, is the internet is savvy. Honey, they are some beasts out here. Y'all should have been private detectives because they dug up everything and created a timeline. Anywho, let's talk about it. We finna show the video. Now, Gail has since scrubbed this video from the internet, but some people were able to screen record it, and they got it, Gail. That's the only thing, Gail. You got to be quick. You got to be a little bit more savvy before you come to TikTok to talk, and you got to have your shit in order. You got to have your facts straight because we will comb through them. Not to say that what Harold and Sabrina subjected you to is right, but can't no right come from doing wrong.
So, he calls and was like, "I just thought, we had a nice evening and I'd like to get to know you better or whatever." And I was like, "Dude, you are married." And he was like, "Well, you were having issues." And I was like, "Well, maybe if you paid your wife some attention, maybe you all would, and you wouldn't." So, didn't matter. He started sending flowers. When I tell you, y'all, he was sending flowers like damn near every day. My office looked like a morgue. I promise you, it looked like a morgue. It smelled like a morgue with all them flowers up in there.
it's very important that we establish that Gail met Harold while he was married. He approached her. He wanted to date her. Her thing was, you're married, and maybe if you treat your wife a little bit better, things will get better in your marriage. That's when, according to Gail, Howard began to pursue her heavily. And we call it woo, W-O-O, winning others over. He began to woo her, okay, woo her, similar to what he's doing in the current situation with his mistress, Sabrina Hutton, okay? Now, he begins to woo her and overwhelm her with nice gifts, sending them to her office. Now, Gail, my thing is, an audience, I want you to pay attention. How does he know where you work? How does he know where to send them? Which tells me or establishes or establishes a strong possibility that you did not pick up this story where it originally started. Somehow, some way, prior to you telling us he started to woo you, there may have been a friendship or some type of rapport that had already been established between you and Harold. Because how else would he know where to send these wonderful gifts and these flowers to you? I just wanted to bring that all to you. I just wanted to bring that to you all's attention. All right.
So I told him, I was like, dude, we cannot do this. So he was like, well, we could go out as friends sometime and have dinner. So I was like, okay.
Okay. She met him. They established some type of rapport prior to us getting this bit of tea. He was wooing her. He was asking her to date him. She said no, because you're married. And if you work on your marriage, you may get the outcome that you're looking for in me. Then, not only did she continue to accept the gifts, she agreed to go out with him. She said, oh, he's married, but I said, okay. Ladies. All right?
Fourth time I went out with him, I was like, you know what? I said, this is not right. I was like, if your wife don't know you out with me, this is not right. So I was like, not doing this anymore. So he was like, no, because I'm going to file for divorce. So I was like, until you file for divorce, don't reach out to me, you know?
All right. So did you hear this? So they go out. She says 3 times, but to me, people always, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I always feel like we're going to give the best number that doesn't implicate us as being bad people. So if she said 3, I'm going to say it was probably 4 to 6 times that you went out with him. Okay. And then after however many times, she says, she tells him, listen, this isn't right. And until you get a divorce, don't reach out to me. That's what I want to break down. So what I'm taking away from this is, it wasn't that this isn't right. You're married. How dare you? You asshole. Go home to your wife and your children. What didn't feel right for her is not being in the number 1 position. In my opinion, Gail, I got to be fair. Because you didn't walk away from the situation. You walked away from the lineup. You didn't like where you sat in the roster. This is just my opinion, because you came back and you nudged him. You nudged him to leave another woman so that you could take her spot. And eventually you did take her spot. But what you didn't realize is the hypnotic rhythm, the current, the cycle continued. And it took 26 years for you to reap the seeds that you sowed. Because one thing we're going to talk about in episode 2, maybe episode 3, that Gail has shared with us is that Sabrina encouraged and has continued to encourage Harold to leave Gail. But Gail, that's the same thing that you did. Maybe not as strong and strategic as you did, but you did it. Because you said, until you get a divorce, don't call me. You wanted him to choose between him and your wife. That's what him and his ex-wife. That's what it sounds like to me. I am not painting you as a bad person. I'm not here to judge, but I'm just saying, can't no right come from doing wrong. What are y'all's thoughts?
No, and I was like, and I can't tell you I'm going to be here or not. I just can't do that. So next day he calls and was like, oh, you are challenge. I'm gonna get you, like, I'm gonna marry you. You're the girl for me. Like, you work hard, you're a single mom, you're doing your thing, and you're gonna be the girl for me. And I was like, dude, let it go.
Now, here's the part that throws me off. Once you found out he was married, you had every opportunity to turn, to walk away, to pivot, to leave, to exit the building. Warning, warning, evacuation is in progress. And you did none of that. And as a matter of fact, when you doubled down and you gave him an ultimatum, because that was an ultimatum, get a divorce. We can't do this, or me. And it doesn't matter how sexy, soft, feminine, gentle we say it, ladies, it's still wrong. Okay. To which he responded, I like you. You're a challenge. I like that. I like you. You're a challenge. She picked up the phone the next day after giving the ultimatum, which tells me you had no intention of sending that man back home to where he belonged. Where am I going with this? You reap what you sow. Because who would have thought? I don't think Gail would have ever thought that 26 years later, she would find herself in the shoes of the ex-wife. Now, this does not justify it. I just got to lay it all out there so that we can talk about this with all details, right? We have all of the information we need, but I don't think Gail thought she would have found herself in a position that she placed his ex-wife in 26 years later, with him exhibiting the same behaviors on her that he did with his ex-wife, and him choosing a mistress over his ex-wife. Because Gail, you were the mistress at that time, okay? Once you decided to play ball and go out to lunch and dinner, you step into that role on the roster. You step into that role, and you were just waiting, honey. The clock was ticking because you wanted him to sign those papers like every other side chick. Don't let them fool you. They all want the wife's spot. They all want the wife's spot. Because it's a woman's nature. And as a matter of fact, I would caution it. I'm not saying cheating is wrong. Shit, it's wrong. Let's just say that. But however, you really need to be looking at a chick sideways, all up and down the side of her head. If she says, I don't want to be married. I don't want your wife's spot. That's even scarier. Because most do. It's a woman's nature to have stability, sustainability, somewhat of a regulated home, life, heart posture. And if she says that's not what she wants, and you gonna cheat anyway, you better run. You done picked a crazy one. All right, let's get back into it.
So, fast forward this story. Of course, he starts to wear me down. He's sending gifts and sending me all these little nice, sweet things. And this is one of his little things that he would do. I'm finding out this is how he get all his women, because what's her name ain't the only one. There's been plenty. She just the face of the franchise right now. I'm finding out he got a thing for girls that are 25, 30. That's about the oldest he like him. And he damn near about to be 64 years old.
Okay, you heard it. That was it. That's all I wanted us to focus on for episode 1. Gail says when she met him, he wooed her and pursued her, even though he was married. And she was a willing participant. And she put some parameters in place. And for those of you that say, well, what's wrong with that? Run. Where there's smoke, there's fire. See, when you start to say, but I told him he needs to get a divorce, and he's going to divorce you the next time around when he's itching for a scratch. Now, Gail really gave more background to this. She said she didn't even like him at first when she met him because he was obese, fat, unattractive, okay? But he had a good job, Savannah. He was a C-suite executive. I don't know if it was his own business or some type of corporation, but the boy was making money. Ooh, that was attractive. She was a single mother. That was very attractive. So he knew what he wanted and she knew what she wanted. And even though he was fat and unattractive, money comes to me. Yes, the money was attractive. Don't get it twisted. And I know a lot of people, well, he at least he got a divorce. You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. And that's exactly what happened. And she said, oh, you're just the face of the brand today, but so were you. And that did not keep you from breaking up the first marriage or walking away from the first marriage. Now, I got to give her credit. She did say that she's willing to accept accountability and hold herself responsible for any pain that she's inflicted on the first wife. Let me say this. It's a little bit too late. Let me tell you why. Because it took you enduring the same pain and hardship that you caused another woman in order for you to get it. Ladies, you got to get it before you ensue an adulterous affair with the man that has taken a vow with another woman. You are responsible. Once you decide to raise your hand, volunteer, and say, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play. And because of that, I'm going to just say this. You've wasted 26 years, Gail, on a man that never probably really stopped what he was doing in the first place. He just hid it for a long time, if that makes any sense. Let's talk about it, y'all. Let's take it to the chat.